Yeah, we have a special episode today on Chili Bakes. In case you wanted to know a little bit more about me, I have a lovely guest today. It's John Chao, who's one of my fellow podmates. I don't know if that's even a word, but I'm going to call him that. And he's here to chat with me, and we're just going to answer some questions that maybe you don't know about me, and hopefully you want to know. So here's John. Everybody say hi to John.
Hi, John. Well, if podmates is not a word, we're gonna make it a word because that's a brilliant word. I love it, and we are definitely podmates. Thank you for having me on. It's just so fun to be able to have a chance to ask you some questions, pick your brain on who you are, hear a little bit about the story of you growing up. I know I got to hear a little bit earlier, and there's just so many fascinating things that, I mean, to start, we found out this recently on the Instagram speed podcasting that you were on, that you've been just baking and then giving it away, and there's a very evident generous nature in you, Carolyn. Where do you think that comes from?
Oh, you're so kind. And the generous nature. I always want to be a light and a love to people. Like that's my prayer, a daily prayer. I just ask to be a light and a love to other people. And
Hmm.
I think my mom is she passed away in May of this year, but
Mm.
she was always very welcoming. Like if there were people at the church who didn't have somewhere to go at Thanksgiving, she invited them over, or Christmas,
Oh.
or you just always wanting to have people over. Or my friends came over, and she would want to have them for dinner, or not for, we weren't eating, my friends, but she would have them, invite them over for dinner. And she, we'd always have nice meals together, and her home was open.
Wow.
She just made kids of all my friends. So she just invited people in, and I like to help people. I want to invite people in. I want people who are in the same situation with me as far as gluten-free and baking to have the same tools I have. And I'd like to distribute that. And when I actually bake stuff, I'm always foisting them off on people. And it's fun.
Mm.
Why would I bake and keep it to myself? That's half the fun, right?
Yes, 100%. I feel like the deliciousness of all the things that come out of your kitchen, they are meant to be a source of spreading joy. I love that we can spread joy through our words, but why not spread joy through baked goods? That's brilliant.
Yeah. It was how I tried to get the attention of boys in high school. It was not the most successful tactic, but I did earn friends with my baking. I would be like, here, cute boy, have some cookies.
Hey, it actually does work. It's the way to a man's heart. It's their stomach. So that's very wise of you. How old were you when you started baking?
Um, I started baking, I want to say I made pudding at 8. I know that was like the first thing they let me make, and it was kind
Oh,
of a nightmare.
fun.
But I started baking probably around 10 or 11, maybe.
Whoa.
Like actual baking my own, like not my own recipes, but getting in the kitchen and getting into trouble. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I was still probably like figuring out how Legos work at the age of 10. So I'm impressed that you were baking and like understanding how to follow instructions of volume and like what quantity of things to put in. Where did that interest come from? Was it just like your mom did it, so you did it along with her, or like did you ask to bake?
Um, you know, I think it came from, I mean, my mom's a really good cook. My grandmother, who's Greek, and I think she's Greek and French, she was always this amazing cook. And she would, she just had this house where you walk in and there's this smell of food and a beautiful
Oh,
table. And she had
yes.
these lovely clothes. And she was just this great person, this presence. And she was smart, and she had their own business, and she was this amazing cook, and she'd like get these recipes from all over. And so what she did for me, she gave me a huge gift at about, I don't know if it was 12 or 13. She gave me my first cookbook, and I read it like a novel. I went through and I would just try all these
Whoa.
recipes. And then she gave me a subscription to Bon Appetit, which I did the same thing. Every month it would come, and I would pour through it, and I'd cut stuff out and try it and do all this stuff. So that was, in the kitchen was the place where I had free reign, where it was like, here you go.
Wow.
And I got really good feedback. And so, of
Mm.
course, I'm like, oh, you like these cookies? I'm going to try to make these. So that's where it came from, I
Hmm.
think. Yeah.
That makes so much sense. You mentioned earlier, when we were not recording, that you were kind of a homebody when you were growing up, and so the kitchen must have been your kingdom. I love it.
Yeah. I literally Friday, Saturday nights, I was baking. That's what I did most Friday and Saturday nights in
Oh,
high
so
school.
good.
Yeah. Count
Yeah.
me out of the pool halls, as my dad would say. Not that I was ever in the pool hall.
No, but also I'm sure you were saved from a lot of unnecessary drama from that as well. And I mean, just the skill set alone, I know so many people in their 20s or 30s who are afraid of the oven or are very uncomfortable with the kitchen and, you know, intimidated by ingredients. And you have developed that over time. What was your like first really proud moment for baking?
For baking. Does candy making count as baking? I think
Oh, yes.
making English toffee and like,
Wow.
which is, it's kind of an involved process with, you have to get the right temperature and it's really hot. It's like lava. And if you don't cook it enough, it doesn't set up. And if you cook it too much, it's burned and it's terrible. And it came out
Mm.
amazing. And so I made it every year from like 1982 on or 1981 or something. I mean, I still have the sheet from the magazine that I ripped out.
No way.
Yeah, I mean, my recipe file is like in kid handwriting. A lot of it's in like little kid handwriting where I was making up
Mm.
recipes, and sadly they were mostly based on like chicken soup, like cream of mushroom soup or something. But hey, I was trying to make new recipes, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. There is a certain element of being able to do that. I know for myself, when I like wash dishes, it makes me feel really good. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm washing my life, like cleaning my life in a certain sense.
Oh,
And
nice.
you know, what does baking mean for you? Like, why has it been such a passion and love of yours?
It's my happy place for sure. It's like if I'm
Mm.
sad, I would be baking. If I was happy, I would be baking. If people were coming over, I'm baking. Like it's just like I guess I'm always baking, but I get to create stuff because I like to make stuff. I'm a quilter. I like to paint a little bit and I like to
Oh,
write, I make ornaments sometimes, I just like to dabble in stuff. So I feel like I'm a dabbler in lots of things, but I've been cooking a really long time. And so it's like an adventure. I find a new recipe and I think, ooh, do I want to make it like this? Or, ooh, I could do it like that. There's a lot of, I forgot your question completely, but there's there's a lot of creativity in there that I love. And then I get to share it. Like that's the best part. It's like, ooh, do you guys want some of XYZ? I had in college, I had three guy roommates. I was like kind of like the reverse Harry Potter. And let me explain that. Because we had an apartment and there were three bedrooms upstairs. And at the very top, there was a loft with like an opening. And
okay.
it was the size of a single futon mattress. And I put a sheet over it. So like it was supposed to just be an alcove. So I was the room above the stairs instead of like under the stairs.
Oh,
So
I see.
that's where I lived. And I would always cook for them. I would cook full meals. I would bake all the time so that because I wanted someone to eat my food and I always wanted to cook. So that was like,
Sure.
I was just going great guns. I'm like, hey guys, do you want this? And so I had three guy roommates and it was just be like this.
Oh, they hit the jackpot with you. They must have been just kind of like, can we live with you next year and just like follow you wherever they went? I hope they pitched in for groceries.
I'm sure, they were great guys. I'm sure they did. I
Okay.
don't remember at this point. I just remember like foisting lots of food on humans and we had a great time. It was because now I don't have as many people to eat. And so I'm always like, what can I do with that? Right. It's just,
Mm,
yeah. I run out of people to eat it before I run out of food because I'm always like, oh, I'll try this recipe. Oh, this looks good. So
yes. Well, I mean, it's definitely you sound like the heart of a community for sure, because I think givers are rare in that sense. And you have this element of just like having a lot of love to share, and that is expressed through food, I guess.
it is. And it growing up, I didn't really cook with my mom. I feel like she kind of kicked us out of the kitchen. And that was sort of when I started having kids, I still didn't want kids in the kitchen because I felt like, oh, they're
Oh.
slowing me down. And then at some point, I don't know, it just changed and it was this beautiful thing. Like my kids, I love to cook with my kids. It chokes me up because we have such a great time. The three of us will get in there and we're like, I'll do the dry and you guys do the wet. And, maybe Ethan wants to
Oh.
chop. So the three of us will be in there baking something or cooking a meal. And it's just
Wow.
beautiful. We laugh, we have a good time. We have this amazing food. We get to like, collaborate together. I
Mm.
just adore that. Yeah.
That sounds like the dream, and I'm so glad that you provided them with that, because these are also memories that they're gonna take with them. And now when they associate motherhood, that's a pretty high bar that you set, because they're just thinking. I mean, I'm thinking about the video of you baking with your son and him cracking an egg and just having fun together, because that kind of life skill for him to now go out into the world as an adult and say, hey, I know how to do this, I know how to do that, I know my way around the kitchen.
Yeah, I mean, and he's amazing in the kitchen. He loves to make, and he makes this shrimp that Mama, his grandma, makes. This like, I guess it's Chinese shrimp, and it's got chopped ginger, very thinly sliced ginger, and garlic and soy sauce, and you have a lot. There's a lot of chopping involved in it, but it's this beautiful thing when he's done, and he does the veggies, and he makes this beautiful meal. And it's like,
Oh,
good job, like he's just amazing. I'm really proud of him, and yes, I think that makes him a good, good candidate for someone in a relationship for sure. I don't know how to put that. I was feeling awkward, but yeah, yeah.
what was the switch for you with cooking with your kids? Like at what point were you just kind of like, oh, maybe I do want them in the kitchen?
I think I had this idea that I just was getting things done, or I wanted things a certain way. Like
Oh,
I'm a little bit OCD. I'm going to just say that. And so for me, having less control was a little scary. And as soon as I was like, you know what, we're just going to do it how it goes. And if things
mm,
aren't chopped right, great. And if it's not mixed right, we're going to have a good time. And then it just all switched, and I could see them light up. And it's like playing with Play-Doh, but at the end you get something amazing to eat.
oh,
Right on.
100%. Yeah.
So I think I don't know, something changed, and I thought, I don't want to be that person who's like, kids can't come in the kitchen. And my
Mm.
daughter's this amazing baker. She like does all these breads and regular food. She whipped out the entire Thanksgiving dinner on her own. She's like, well, my dad's going to make a smoked turkey, but I want one like this. So she did the whole shebang by herself with the pies.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow. I mean, what a life skill that you've really imparted into them. I really couldn't think of anything more important in one sense, because it's just like the self efficacy, like the self belief in that, like she could do that all by herself. That's very, very impressive, because then she'll think, what else can't I do if I can do that?
yeah. There's just so much confidence and creativity in cooking that maybe is lost on a lot of people. Um,
Mm,
and then the control of being able to make what you want, eat what you want when you want. That's one
yes.
of the huge things,
Yeah.
right? Make it how you like it. I mean, what a freeing thing that is, to have the ability to eat what you want when you want. What a great gift to
Mm.
yourself.
Yes. I mean, so obviously we're hearing that, as a child, you were very interested in baking. You seem to have this creative outlet. You didn't care too much about going out and doing all these other silly things, but you enjoyed being in and baking things and giving them to people. What else was your childhood like? You mentioned that you had sisters. Tell us more.
Yeah, it's funny because you're like, you were interested in the silly pursuits. Nobody was interested in me, so I think that helped me not be interested. Like I wasn't like I was getting asked out, so I stayed in and baked instead. But it wasn't like I was refusing people that wanted to hang out with me. So like it wasn't this high and mighty thing. I just was like, well, I'll just be baking anyway. Um,
Mm.
so let's see. As a kid, we had a boat growing up. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, like a 32-foot sailboat, and my dad used to race and do some stuff, and we'd go out to Catalina Island, and so we'd go,
What?
yeah, so we'd go to the islands a lot. So we would end up in our pajamas walking down the docks, get in the boat, and I had a hole for a bed. Like my dad built the interior of the boat. He bought a hull, and then he built the whole interior. He's an engineer, and so he made these
Wow.
side holes, and one was mine and one was my sister Karen's. And so we'd get in there in our pajamas, and we'd wake up and we'd be anchored, and you'd get out and it was all misty, and we'd get the cereal in the boxes. I don't know if you ever had those before.
Yes, yes, yes,
Pull
yes.
the top off, and we'd be sitting there in the mist in our jammies eating on the bow of the
Oh,
boat, which was pretty cool.
super cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. So I'm one of five girls, but I'm the first three. So that was the older three that went
Ah,
there.
okay.
And then we'd row to the island. My older sister would row us like in an inflatable to the island, and then we'd pull up the raft and then just go exploring. It's
Oh,
pretty cool.
wow.
Yeah.
No wonder you have such an adventurous spirit. That is so neat. I feel like that's not something that a lot of, children they get to have anymore in terms of this like raw adventure, have fun, explore, discover.
Yeah. I really appreciate that. And as a parent, it's a little terrifying. I can't imagine my 12-year-old growing my 5-year-old and 7-year-old to the island all day, and God knows what was on the island, right? We don't know.
Sure.
And yeah, so it was the 60s and 70s, so it was a little different, right? No seatbelts, your kids are in the back of the truck kind of thing.
Oh, totally.
But we had
Yeah.
a good time, and we saw a lot of cool wildlife. I think there used to be, I might be making this up, but I think there was bighorn sheep maybe, or bison, and we'd see rays and
Wow.
all these beautiful fish because the water was so beautiful and clear.
Yes.
It was neat. It was really neat.
Oh, I love that. I wish I was there. Like that just sounds like the dream childhood to have.
That part was really nice. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
When it comes to, your ability to share with people, why did you choose a podcast format for baking?
That's funny. It doesn't seem very intuitive. I hearing you say that, I think, why would you do something that you do hands-on and talk about it?
Well, no, I actually think it's brilliant. So I'm not skeptical. I actually think it's brilliant. I have my reasons why, but I want to hear what your reasons why are.
Um, I someone like 2 years ago had said you should do a podcast. She was saying that I should read stories or something about my voice, and I thought, really? I didn't, and I never thought about podcasting. And then that kind of just fell asleep for a while. And then the thing
Mm,
for Your Turn to Podcast came up, the free course, and I thought, well, it's free, I might as well try it. And I don't know why I tried it. Um, and then as I thought about it, we go through the process of what you're good at and what you might do for a podcast. And I thought about doing that, or maybe I'm really passionate about using native plants in my landscape too. That's a huge deal for me. So I really like to reduce, reuse, all that good stuff, right? As much as I
mm,
can.
yeah.
Um, I don't beat people up for using plastic, but I try to do my part. So I was thinking, oh, what should I do? And I thought, it'd be really nice. My kids have always said, you should open a bakery, Mom, because you can't tell this is gluten-free. And I was like, yeah, but how do I have a
Seriously.
bakery, right? There's all the
Yeah.
constraints of the health department, and, rent and overhead and things spoiling, and how do you get customers and all that stuff. And I was like, that's just a lot to deal with. And, I would like to share, but I didn't want to have to deal with that end of things. And so I
Mm,
thought, well, what if I could share my recipes and show people how to do them, and they could see how
true.
easy it is, and then they could still enjoy baking and have fun with their friends, and share it with their family, and no one's throwing in the garbage, right? I thought, well, maybe I can do this because I have
Oh,
so many recipes, and if people want
yes.
to listen, I'd be really happy to share.
Okay, I know we're not supposed to talk about other things because we're doing a bio interview for you
No, I
right
don't
now,
care.
but I would love to see you bring a sampler to different coffee shops in your neighborhood
Mm,
and then see if they want to buy batches of, like, do you know what I mean? It's kind
yeah,
of like a shop within a shop. You
yeah,
don't have to have your own bakery, but what
yeah,
you could do is to say, okay, this store is going to order 3 tins of this maple fudge or whatever it is that you make,
yeah,
and then this way they will pay you for the entirety of what you make. You don't
yeah.
have to worry about whether they sell or not because that's on them now. And then you're going to have people have access to buying your baked goods in a different way. I'd love to see something like that.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. What a nice way to get out in the community and share with people and see if they're interested. I like that.
Totally. And then it's called, gluten-free GF, and oh, sorry, it's a chili bakes GF. And that is maybe the name of your, store.
Yeah,
And they'll start looking for you, and then they'll find you on Instagram, and they'll find you on your podcast, and they'll see all these recipes. But, having them featured in certain coffee shops and whatnot would just be because they need people to be attracted to their store, right? They
right.
sell coffee, they don't sell other stuff, or
Yeah,
it's annoying for them to sell other stuff. So
yeah.
I'm just seeing you. I'm gonna like you're gonna explode in all over Indiana. Like I'm gonna go one day, and all these places are gonna carry your stuff.
And you're going to have to come visit me, and I can cook you something. I can cook you an actual meal and bake something because,
I've driven there 3 times now. It's only about 10 and a half hours away from Toronto.
yeah,
So we're going to make it happen. I love it.
sounds
Can you
good.
tell the listeners, what they can look forward to in this podcast?
A lot of really good bakes. I test everything. So I
Wow.
never, I don't look up recipes on the internet and just whip them out and tell people I've made it, because I don't like that. I've seen way too many things. I mean, it's bad enough with regular baking, but for gluten-free, it feels like, hey, there's this beautiful picture, and then you make it and you think, oh my gosh, no one wants to eat this, right? And then I'm
Mm.
really ticked off because I've wasted all my time, and then I don't get to eat anything, and then I have nothing to show for it. So I test
Yes.
everything. So
Wow.
most of the recipes are all they've already converted so many of them, and they were just my regular favorites. And so I just tweaked them over time, like, oh, I really like this, but I need to make it gluten-free because I couldn't eat it.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
everything has been tested. Everything, you know, I've tried. I like it. It's easy. I try to
Mm.
walk people through it. So that's what they're going to expect, is sort of seasonally based stuff. So it'll be gingerbread and pear and apple stuff in the winter, and, or
Wow.
persimmon, and then more summery stuff. And so that will change as the seasons go. And it's basically like cooking with me in my kitchen is what I want the podcast to feel like. Like, hey, come on over, come on in, let's make something.
Mm.
That's what I do with my friends. And that's what I'm hoping to do with the people who listen.
Totally. And I mean, the just hearing about how high your standards are in the kitchen for when your kids first started coming in and you being a little bit OCD, I can just imagine how high quality these recipes will turn out in terms of flavor, color, like presentation, but also like the edibility. I'm so excited. Like my mouth is watering a little bit thinking about all of this.
So good. That's good. I am not, I'm not, what was I trying to say? I'm a little OCD. My favorite things in recipes are flavor, like it has to taste really good, and it can't
Hmm.
be a giant pain in the butt to make. There's some exceptions, but really, like, I want it to be easy and tasty. And I try to make things look pretty, but I'm more of like, it'll be beautiful, but not, as I say, I'm OCD, but it's like I need the freshest ingredients, but I don't like,
Yes.
I can't cut slices evenly to save my life. It's just like I have a problem. So it's not going to look perfect exactly, but it'll be yummy, super yummy, easy, and you won't have to kill yourself to try to figure out how to make it.
Well, it won't need to look perfect because it's going to be gone very soon. So then it actually works out really well. I love this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so where can people find you on Instagram?
Chili Bakes GF on Instagram. And
Amazing. And everyone that's listening right now, go connect with Carolyn. You can tell how big her heart is. She will probably do like a live video call with you and cook with and bake with you and whatnot. I have no idea. I'm volunteering her right now because I want to do that eventually one day. But I can see so many more things beyond this podcast come out from you. Carolyn, thank you so much for having me here today and just ask you and hear about your wonderful life.
you're doing me a huge favor by hanging out with me and chatting with me, and helping people learn about who I am and what I'm doing, and just hopefully they'll be excited to come join me and learn something fun. So I'm hoping that's what happens. Thank you
Oh,
so much.
100%. Yeah, we're all going to see pictures upon pictures on Pinterest and Instagram of your creations from other people, and it's going to be the best. I can't wait to see it all.
Thank you.